A global internet outage involving Amazon created problems for thousands of websites and apps today, and in some cases, we're still hearing reports that the system is not fully restored. Sarah's back with the latest on this. Sarah?
Yeah, Ian, so I reached out to AWS and they got back to me really just now saying that at this point, this hour, almost all of their services have been restored. AWS, we're talking about Amazon. Amazon, of course, is known for online shopping, for streaming content, but it is also a world leader in providing web services. AWS, Amazon Web Services. And what they say in this update that they have just provided, they give a bit of a timeline as to how things happened and maybe how they went wrong. They first started noticing problems around midnight Pacific time, and all the times to this update are given in Pacific because the headquarters for Amazon being out on the West Coast. It was around 2:30 in the morning. They worked right through the night. 2:30 in the morning, they had identified and it appeared that they had resolved that initial issue. But basically, it had created a bit of a domino effect. So one other program, one other services provided experiencing problems, that created problems with another. Now, I am really glossing over this. It's a very technical update, and I don't understand it all, and I don't think most people watching would really understand the ins and out of that. But we did speak with a technology expert who basically summed it up nicely in terms of what the average consumer needs to know about what we all experience today. Take a listen.
Think of it as a power grid. So a portion of Amazon services went down. So it's like the power grid on the internet went off. At that point, the other systems that rely on that service that's out can't talk. So, and of course, when that's down, the most important parts are down, nothing else really works properly after that.
Now, finally, at around 3:01, and that's a pretty specific time, but 3:01 Pacific time in the afternoon, so 6:01 Eastern time, PM, AWS did say that it had returned to normal operations. But the reason for some services are still resolving or still coming online here is that there has been a bit of a backlog, Ian, in terms of messages. So it's all fully been completely dealt with, but they are over the next few hours dealing with that backlog of messages, and so that's why they can't say it's fully complete.
Inconvenient and potentially costly.
Yeah, I mean, depending on what company you're relying on that is relying on AWS was experiencing difficulties. I mean, we have been seeing reports of game developers who use Roblox unable to work throughout the day. A health app that was experiencing errors as customers were trying to input the food and exercise that they were doing. Service disruptions to education software. People who would normally access a doorbell camera on their phone unable to do so because that system was down. And then around midday today, we got this notice from the Toronto Blue Jays. They posted it to Twitter, and basically what it stated was that they were having ticket management issues if you used Ticketmaster, and they were advising fans not to do this for the next foreseeable while as they were working through these ticket management issues. The good news to the Blue Jays situation, and of course the game is now just getting underway, hopefully everyone has been able to transfer their tickets if they were purchasing or trying to transfer it to a client or to a relative, because those would be a particularly costly situation. The Jays did come out and say, looks like the situation has been resolved, please go ahead and do it. But they did put extra staff members at the various gates, just in case anyone was having a hard time with their Ticketmaster.
Remember the Rogers outage about 5 years ago? Like, I discovered it, first of all, when I called a cab and it didn't show up. And then at the end of the day, because I was flying to New Brunswick, I couldn't use my credit card at a restaurant because of that outage. Like, the extent to which we rely on these internet networks is incredible.
Yeah.
And we often don't know till they go down.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, Sarah, thank you so much. The outage has led to calls for Canada to remove itself from an American-dominated system and implement a sovereign cloud system. What is that? How realistic is the idea? Brent Arnold is the founder and principal lawyer of Capstan Legal. He's also the chair of the Canadian Internet Society. And so what does the Amazon Web Services outage tell us about Canadian dependence on U.S. cloud services?
Hi, and good to talk to you again. It tells us a few things. One, we are extremely dependent on too few providers, which is a real problem in terms of planning and resiliency. Also, almost all of those providers are foreign-controlled companies. So there's two issues that stem from that. One, as the political situation changes around the world, how comfortable are we relying on foreign providers that fall under jurisdiction of those foreign governments, in this case, the American government, the Trump government? Also, just having that many eggs in too few baskets is a huge problem. The Canadian government, for instance, uses 8 different, as of 2022, uses 8 different cloud providers. Amazon's one of them, Microsoft, IBM, and others. One is Canadian.
So this outage has renewed calls for a so-called sovereign cloud system. What would that look like when it comes to Canadian data?
Well, what it would look like and what would be different is it would be stored on Canadian servers that are in Canada physically. And we do have that already. A certain amount of Amazon's capability is in Canada, and something like 40% of Canadian data that's on AWS servers is on servers that are in Canada. But they're still foreign controlled, right? They're owned by a foreign company. When we talk about data sovereignty, we're saying the data is stored on servers physically in Canada that are owned by companies that are in Canada, Canadian owned, Canadian controlled. So the second part of the reason you want that is it means less susceptibility to foreign control, less likelihood we find ourselves in the situation of handing over data about Canadians to a foreign government that we may not trust. In terms of avoiding situations like we saw here today, it doesn't make that big a difference. You can have a sovereign cloud solution that's less reliable than what we have now. Really, if you want to avoid situations like we had today, you have to, again, diversify so you're not relying on just one provider. And 2, you have to have a big enough, robust enough ecosystem that you can move data, mirror data on more than one company's site, for instance, so that if your solution with one company goes down, you can still stay online with another, and you can sort of recover quickly. So sovereign system only solves the problem that we saw today if it's built the right way.
You know, I think before Trump's second term, a lot of the concerns about what might happen if our data was under the control of an American company sounded theoretical. Now it sounds real. From your perspective as a lawyer and an expert in these areas, give me an example of where our data is at risk because it's being stored in an American-controlled cloud.
Well, one of the things that is the background to all this, and this has been going on for some time, the U.S. has something called the Cloud Act. Cloud's an acronym. Under the Cloud Act, the U.S. government can negotiate bilateral treaties for other countries to make it easier for American law enforcement to get its hands on data from those countries. Canada has been quietly negotiating one of these treaties with the U.S. for some time. That seemed like a good idea before we saw what an American government could be capable of in the wrong hands, right? Because we want cooperation with allies we trust when it comes to law enforcement. I'm in cybersecurity. I want the U.S. government working closely with my government to catch bad guys. But what happens when the U.S. government becomes the bad guy?
Yeah, that's perhaps more than a theoretical question. Brent Arnold is the founder and principal lawyer of Capstan Legal. Thank you.
Thank you.